Now, Islamist extremist group Hizb ut-Tahrir is going to be banned in Britain for promoting Hamas. The Home Secretary announced it yesterday. Joining me now to discuss this and plenty of other stories besides this, Dr Rakib Ehsan. He's a social commentator. Good morning to you, Rakib.
Morning, Julia. How are you?
Thank you very well indeed. Do you know what? Someone actually sent me some really fascinating article I wrote back in 2007 in the Sunday Express. I was political editor there, where I was writing about Sadiq Khan, then just a Labour MP, not the Mayor of London, actually talking about how he has family members, his some in-laws who were members of Hizb ut-Tahrir. And this was when both Tony Blair said he wanted to ban the group. Gordon Brown, as Prime Minister, said that he wanted to ban the group, but there hadn't been enough evidence to ban them. They're banned in pretty much most of Europe, banned in pretty much most of the Arab world. Finally, we're catching up. Why has it taken so long?
Well, it's taken a while. As you say, it's banned in other European countries such as Germany, but even more interestingly, it's banned in a number of Muslim majority countries such as Bangladesh, Pakistan, Indonesia, which is the world's largest Muslim majority country, and it's banned by most nation states across the Arab world. Now, it is very possible that the government's intention to ban Hizb ut-Tahrir, it could face legal opposition, be legally challenged. But the reality is that all the UK would be doing by banning this pan-Islamist international movement, it'd be very much in line with much of the Arab world and a number of very large Muslim majority countries.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, what's extraordinary is how many of these different groups there are, whether it's Hamas or Hezbollah or the Houthis or Hizb ut-Tahrir, Muslim Brotherhood, all these groups. But they basically, although they often, they actually vie, it's kind of People's Front of Judea and Judea people front for the people of, sort of a Monty Python style. They actually all are pretty much the same in terms of, they are Islamist. They are anti-the West, anti-America, they are anti-Israel, and they are terrorist organisations. They want to use, the gun, the power of the gun, to get their way.
Well, I think that we're just referring to your previous question in terms of why it's taken so long. Initially, the intelligence communities gave the Hizb ut-Tahrir the all clear in the UK. But the issue is, of course, if an organisation or an international movement of this nature gets banned, it is banned by a variety of countries, and your country doesn't ban that international movement, that organisation, then you become a hotbed of very problematic, in my view, extremist activity.
Ta-da! It's not complicated, is it?
No, absolutely. I mean, it sounds very much like common sense. Now, the issue for me is that we've proscribed a number of Islamist organizations, but we have seen the displaying of pro-terror paraphernalia in recent times. So what I would say is that you need to back up that prescription with robust law and order. If there's expressions of support for that particular organization, which is a prescribed terrorist organization, then those actions need to meet the full force of the law. But at the moment, I don't see much of that, as evidenced by certain elements of pro-Palestine protests.
Yeah. Absolutely. Can I also talk to you about that horrific, I mean, it's sick footage that Hamas have put out. First of all, an image online about images of 3 Israeli hostages, a woman and 2 men, and basically saying, we'll tell you later on what's happened to them. And then later on, but almost like a sick game, sort of, are these people alive? Are they injured? Some of them injured, or are they all okay? We'll tell you later. And then a video, when choosing not to show the video for obvious reasons, unlike other broadcasters, not Hamas propagandists, the female hostage looking very emaciated, being forced clearly after more than 100 days in captivity to say that the other 2 Israeli hostages were dead, footage of their bodies, but also claiming that they were killed in an IDF missile attack. Again, we've no way to verify that or the circumstances in which she was forced to say that. But what do you make of this sort of propaganda style, almost sick game of video footage they put out?
Well, what's even alarming for me is the degree of support that's been shown for Hamas within the wider pro-Palestine movement. Now, Julia, we may disagree on this, but I've vigorously condemned what I consider to be Israeli forms of militaristic occupation and population displacement. Indeed, I support the cause of Palestinian self-determination, but that can be done without expressing support for Hamas's activities. And what's been even more alarming for me is that TalkTV's invited a number of guests who simply can't bring themselves to call October the 7th terrorist attacks,
Yeah.
which I find absolutely
To be
remarkable.
fair,
And I
that would
think
be
that,
most of the BBC if we had them on as guests.
well,
And
quite.
and
And
probably probably Gary Lineker, who just doesn't feel the need to sort of tweet about this at all, but does retweet messages which have been very positively welcomed by the supporters of organisations like Hamas, calling for Israel to be banned from international soccer tournaments.
Well, I think the reluctance to call October the 7th a terrorist attack, it discredits the wider pro-Palestine movement, in my view. For me, more generally, I think we're looking towards a peace settlement. That there has to be an understanding that the leadership on both sides, when I talk referring to Israel and specifically Gaza, there has to be a change in leadership. I find that the Israeli government, its current bombardment of Gaza, in my view, that doesn't mean, in my opinion, that it's a good faith actor in terms of moving towards a peace settlement. So I think there has to be a change in leadership in both sides.
Yeah, absolutely.